response to a video, a film. This is in response to a video.
Internet video that we had nothing to do with.
That was spontaneous? Was it a planned attack? Was there a terrorist element to it?
This is a response to a hateful and offensive video.
The video and its influence on the protests that occurred in Cairo and Benghazi in response to this video. It was the video that caused the unrest in Cairo, that precipitated some of the arrests in Benghazi. It was sparked by the reaction to this video. The video was a precipitating cause to the unrest, specifically in Libya. Might take advantage of a situation that was brought about initially as a response to the video in question.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
You are totally correct that they spent 2 weeks telling us this was about a tape and that there was this riot outside the Benghazi consulate, which there wasn't.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
I was in chronic pain, and my family struggling to make ends meet, food and gas prices going up, even keeping my job was iffy. Then I learned about a new miracle drug made in Washington, D.C., Spenditol. Spenditol is Washington's answer to all the painful problems Americans face. How to borrow $800 billion for a stimulus that didn't create jobs or fix the economy? Spenditol.
Spenditol is not for everyone. Side effects may include a mountain of government debt piled on our kids, a sudden loss of freedoms, higher prices for everything, leaving our kids a lesser America than we had. Ask your doctor or congressman if your conscience is strong enough for Spenditol.
And it's so popular in Washington, we have to import trillions more of it from China. Spenditol makes you feel better now and pushes off the really bad stuff till later, for them to deal with.
Call the White House and Congress. Tell them, stop spending it all.
Feeling lonely this holiday season? Looking for little human interaction? Do you want to feel contact in certain special places?
Then why not go through security at an airport?
The TSA.
TSA agents are ready and standing by to give you a little something extra to feel thankful about this holiday season.
The TSA.
What are you waiting for? I want to check under your testicles.
Spending time with a TSA agent couldn't be easier. Simply book a flight departing from any American airport. When selected for a full body scanner, say no. You'll be pulled aside by a TSA agent, and that's when the fun begins. And you never know who your agent will be. It could be me. Or me. Or even me.
But it's probably gonna be us. Take off your damn shoe.
The TSA. It's our business to touch yours.
Welcome to the Bureau of Womanhood Conformity. Independent thoughts are considered subversive because all must agree with our leader.
When it comes to women, preventive care should include coverage of contraceptive services such as birth control.
You see, if you don't believe government should pay for your birth control, you're not a real woman. Womanhood denied. If you refuse to accept that pregnancy is a punishment, you're denied as well.
I don't want them punished with a baby.
If you don't believe that abortions should be allowed for any reason, if you don't believe in aborting a child for being the wrong gender, and if you don't believe that stay-at-home mothers aren't real workers, you are not a real conformed woman.
His wife has actually never worked a day in her life. His wife has actually never worked a day in her life.
Finally, for your safety, if you oppose mandatory government health care, you will die.
They will be voting to say that women can die on the floor.
These standards and regulations were formed after our glorious victory in the war on women. Thank you for your cooperation and your conformity.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals, because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
New Michigan right to work law clobbers the Obama-backed unions. Yes, even in Michigan. This is the Examiner.com story. Michigan Republican Governor Rick Snyder was blindsided recently when he received a report that 90 companies in the state of Michigan had pulled up stakes and fled with their thousands of good-paying jobs to the neighboring state of Indiana. Now, after Indiana's new Republican governor Mitch Daniels and his Republican-controlled legislature enacted right-to-work laws, according to a Fox News article posted yesterday. Right-to-work laws prohibit unions from forcing workers to pay union dues. Now, Indiana's success is a result of the model built by Wisconsin's newly elected Republican Governor Scott Walker, who, with his Republican-controlled legislature, was the first to challenge union influence in his blue state, whose benefit and retirement program legacy costs were drowning the state in $1 billion of red ink. Armed with this new legislation, which allowed the elimination of the state's budget deficit without sacrificing a single state government job or raising any taxes, Wisconsin began a full-court press marketing program aimed at the neighboring union stronghold blue state of Illinois, touting that they were open for business in Wisconsin to companies wanting to take advantage of the substantial savings now available. And what did Illinois do? Oh, they went the opposite direction and raised taxes. So here you have a state. It's kind of like here in New Hampshire, and I know what it's like in Wisconsin and Michigan and Indiana and Illinois, because it's similar here in New England. Not too long ago, Massachusetts, against the will of the people, raised their income tax rates, and they raised their sales tax rate. Now, keep in mind, New Hampshire does not have an individual income tax, nor do we have a general sales tax. So they raised their sales tax, and now you have people in the state of Massachusetts, business owners, who complained loudly that they were losing business across the border. So Massachusetts thought they'd do two things. Instead of lowering their income tax rates or lowering their general sales tax, this is what Massachusetts decided to do. They decided to give once a year, I do believe it's once a year, maybe it's twice a year now, but I do believe it's once a year. And I think it's a law that has to be renewed or signed every year, and they've done it for the past 4 or 5 years now. They have a tax holiday on 1 weekend a year, where everything in Massachusetts there is no sales tax charge. They call it a sales tax holiday, And they think and this is how dumb they are. They think that by having one weekend, 2 days a year, where people in their own state don't have to pay their state's sales tax, that'll, one, save business, and two, somehow increase the tax rates, receipts in Massachusetts. Well, it hasn't worked yet. The other thing Massachusetts tried to do is try to reach beyond its borders into New Hampshire. Notice that they didn't go into Maine or Connecticut or Rhode Island or Vermont. And I know Massachusetts does not border Maine, but let's face it, there's only 18 miles between Maine and Massachusetts if you're traveling through New Hampshire. Because that's how long the New Hampshire seacoast is. About 18 miles. But they didn't go to the other states. They didn't go into New York. They just came into New Hampshire, and they were trying to tell New Hampshire businesses that they would have to turn over their records in New Hampshire so they could see if any Massachusetts residents bought anything, so they could go after the Massachusetts residents for or sales tax. Well, these New Hampshire-based companies said, the reason why we're here is because we don't want to have to deal with things like Massachusetts. We're not giving you anything. So Massachusetts tried to sue these companies, and the New Hampshire state, the state of New Hampshire government stepped in and said, no, you do not have the authority to invade our sovereignty as a state just because you're afraid you're losing money. Just because you think your citizens are crossing our border, we know that they are. Hell, we're putting malls. Hell, the state of New Hampshire owns 99% of the liquor stores in New Hampshire. The state of New Hampshire has made sure that they have put liquor stores in all the major roadways near the Massachusetts border. I kid you not. So I fully understand when the state of Wisconsin says, hey, come on up, Illinois, come on and do business up here. We've reduced our tax burden. We've balanced our budget. We've gotten rid of a lot of red ink. It's a lot easier for you to do business up here. And now Michigan is going to be saying, hey, Illinois, we are now a right-to-work state. So all of that stuff, all that, the burdensome union and other regulation that comes along with not being a right-to-work state, you don't have to worry about that here in Michigan because we got rid of it. So you can get, you can pay your people more. Yeah, your employees can keep more of their income because they're not having to give confiscatory. That's another tax, by the way. Union dues are another form of a tax as far as I'm concerned. Because when you go on strike or when you lose your job, like at Hostess, who still gets paid? Yeah, the union brass, while the rank and file is out of work. But the rank and file spent all that time and all their money giving their dues to the union. So they're saying, you know what? You can pay you can afford to pay your employees maybe a little bit less because they'll end up keeping more because they don't have to pay union dues and there'll be lower taxes. So I'm sure Michigan, if they get other things like the city of Detroit under control, they'll start seeing an influx of business like Indiana did. In the meantime, you've got unions out there saying, oh, Republicans want to kill the unions. You know who's killing the unions? The unions. That is who's killing the unions. I mean, they don't realize this, but let me tell you something. I know that they have tried to turn this in the favor of the unions. It's not working. Yeah, people are mad that unions are considered to have been the cause of the death of Hostess. Look, notice how you don't really get any stories about this from the mainstream media. No, now, we were getting constant stories about how Barack Obama saved GM and saved the unions at General Motors and